Welcome back to Career Tea, the podcast where real people spill the real story behind their careers. I'm your host, Saurabh Memar, and today we are diving into the dynamic world of sports, marketing, and content with a true digital powerhouse. If you've ever wondered what it takes to shape the narrative for an iconic sports brand, you're in for a treat. Today, we're joined by Lakeyia Brown, the Senior Manager of Digital Content for the one and only New York Knicks. Lakeyia has an incredible journey that has taken her from the academic halls of the University of South Carolina to the vibrant energy of LSU, and now right into the heart of Madison Square Garden. Lakeyia, welcome to Career Tea. We are so thrilled to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Your career is truly fascinating, and I'm excited to learn more about it. So let's start from the beginning. You started your studies at University of South Carolina. You earned both a bachelor's in marketing and a master's in mass communication. What drew you to those fields originally? And then while you went through your studies, how did that initial studies and understanding shape your viewpoint of the professional world?
Yeah, so funny story. When I got to the University of South Carolina as a freshman, I was very much like on track for athletic training. So I always knew that I wanted to be in sports in some capacity.
Hmm.
I guess initially I thought maybe a little more hands-on would be like what interested me. And honestly, I have so much respect and appreciation for athletic trainers and what they do for teams. But honestly, it just intimidated me. So my sophomore year, I decided to change my major,
Hmm.
and still keeping in mind that I wanted to work in sports, I figured some function of marketing could make sense.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I attended a conference that was the spring of my sophomore year where I heard someone speak about social media marketing. And that was the first time there was like a light bulb moment where I was like, social media for sports. Like that sounds like something, that I
Yeah.
that I would like. Um, so honestly, I from that moment on, I just kind of set my sights on just figuring out how to ensure that I could have a profession in social media. And I kind of just like blindly like shot my shot for an internship. I found somebody's email that said social media, and I said, okay, hi, my name is Lakia, da 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 da. And honestly, doing that just kind of sparked everything.
Hmm.
So I was able to get my start in South Carolina's athletics department, working with women's basketball, football, soccer, track. Like I worked with so many different sports. And it was a really, really fun time. Um,
So you really just went after it, kind of taking that opportunity into your own hands, right? And
mhm,
somebody once told me, a few episodes ago that closed mouths don't get fed, and it feels like that's kind of what you did. Like you kind of just went after it, because if you just sit there, that opportunity wouldn't have came your way. So you found someone's email
exactly,
and you were just screw it. Like, what's the worst thing that's gonna come from it? I'll send them an email,
exactly.
and you end up getting an internship. Now, where was it? That was part of your school, right?
Yeah,
That
so that
internship.
was the University of South Carolina. That internship was my junior and senior year at
Hmm.
South Carolina. And then again, when I graduated, I was totally committed to like staying on track to still do social media. My parents were telling me like, get a government job, like do something safe, have something like secure.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I'm just gonna follow my gut,
Yeah.
basically. And so the opportunity to start my career as a social media specialist at my alma mater, I was just like, you know what? It's social media, so this is exactly where I want to be. Um, Doing that for almost 3 years, like it taught me so much, just kind of about like the basics of doing social media for a large organization, having to work in like a cross-functional capacity, working with so many different departments. And also, even though I was younger than all of my colleagues, I was the one that was kind of keeping them up to date with social media best practices and all of that.
Yeah.
So it definitely like I wouldn't have asked for like a different start. Like I
Yeah.
think it was so perfect how it worked out for me.
And you were still involved with sports too, which was that nice intersection between social media and sports as well. Did at any moment while you were, going down that path, did you ever think back like, oh, maybe I would have, should have, or continued being a sports trainer, or maybe I should have gone that route? Did that ever cross your mind while you continued down the social media path? No.
Mm-mm.
Good.
No.
That's good. And I think
Yeah.
like at the time, like right now, like your parents said, like, hey, go with the government job, like go with safe, job.
Hmm.
But like being in social media, especially for sports teams, like I feel like that's safe. I don't feel like that's going anywhere. That's something that it needs to continue developing. It needs to, continue growing. So from my
Hmm.
perspective, I'm like that's a pretty safe space, especially,
Hmm.
when you gain more experience and more knowledge in it, you become an expert in that field, you're a
Yes.
valuable, asset to them. So how many, you said you ended up doing internships in school. How many
Mhm.
internships were you doing, and how did that kind of help you after you graduated looking for your first full-time experience?
Yeah, so in my capacity as an intern, um, I had the trust to be able to do things that like other interns wouldn't do. So when you build like genuine relationships with people and you also kind of make it known what you're interested in doing, people give you opportunities. So I was able to host giveaways on social media, and a part of that just really sparked my interest in it because having good content is great. Having viral content is even better. But I think it's the in-person interactions with sports fans that are really like those memories that stick with you forever.
Hmm.
So once I kind of figured that out, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. So that was like my first year. So being able to capture a lot of behind the scenes content, being able to like host giveaways on my own, that was really fun. Then my senior year, it was the same thing. But I also was managing our mascots accounts.
Mm,
I was just telling somebody the other day that getting to be the voice of the mascot it's so much fun because you're kind of like the peacemaker. Like, a team could have had a not so great game, but no one's really just going to be mad at the mascot, you know?
yeah.
So the mascot is like good for morale, and that really helped me to learn like the difference between, voice and tone. The voice and tone of the like general athletics account is going to differ from the mascot, which will differ from the university. So I will say my 2 years as an intern in the South Carolina athletics department was so great for me. I was able to um, have opportunities to create content for Instagram.
Hmm.
They had what is called the student section where they pick essentially like ambassadors at different schools, and they could kind of share content, and then Instagram could just kind of like pick and choose what to do
I
with it.
see. Yeah.
So yeah, I got so many opportunities just based off of like the internship, and like that set me up to go so far.
Yeah, and especially like with the way technology and Instagram and the features have been changing too, do you think it's
Hmm.
easier now? Like kind of like if you were to go back and do those internships right now again, you think it'd be much easier, or you think it'd be more competitive?
I think it would be so much more difficult right now.
Oh, you think
I think it
so?
would be so
What?
much more difficult.
Why do
Yeah.
you think so?
Because like when I first started, it was a completely different time on social media. Like Snapchat is still around, and Snapchat still has like a captive audience, but there was a point in time where Snapchat was like the new hot app that all of the brands wanted to be on, all of the sports teams wanted to be on. And so like that's when I started. And so with all of the changes, whether it's changes to the name of an app, like I call Twitter Twitter because that's just what it
Yeah.
is to me. Even though it's X now. Um, all of the updates, like once upon a time when Instagram was chronological, like now you're just kind of making content feel more evergreen because you're not exactly sure when the audience is going to see it. So
Hmm.
I think there's so much more nuance now, and you know, all of these platforms that are trying to copy each other. Like once upon a time, Instagram stories didn't exist, but
Yeah.
because Snapchat was, so popular, Instagram kind of absorbed that.
Yeah.
So honestly, it was a lot simpler. It was a lot simpler back then. But I would say even with the growth now, um, I'd say the growth in the popularity of this work and also in the growth of the platforms, I will say there are a lot more systems now to kind of help you like automate it a little
Yeah.
bit. But I think just in general, it was definitely like a bit easier back in 2016.
Right. Probably
It,
not
it
as
was more organic, more fun. Like,
yeah, easier
yeah.
to not as many people and they're creating content, I bet. Now,
Hmm.
before we get into your professional career and after college, what was your favorite sport, or favorite, I guess, area that you worked on in college? I assume you worked on multiple different sports teams, different sports content. What was your favorite?
Yeah, that's super easy. My favorite team to work with was our women's basketball team. And
Okay.
because when I was an intern, they won their first national championship. So I got to experience like kind of following a team from the beginning of the season, to the postseason, to, winning a championship, to having a parade in the city. Like it was super, super cool.
They made your work a little
I'm
easier too.
For sure, for sure. I'm like, not only is this my alma mater, but like, I love this team. Like, the players were my peers. Like, we were the same age. So that was really, really awesome. Definitely my
So cool.
favorite.
So now you go through these internships, you gained so much experience, right? You've learned so much. What's your plan after college? How are you planning to navigate? How do you get your first job?
Yeah. So after college, I had my sights set on social media, and nobody could change my mind at all. So I was applying for jobs. Definitely did not hear back from most of them. So for anybody that is watching this and if you're applying to jobs,
Yep.
it happens. It happens to the best of us. I was applying for sports social media jobs. I had some interview opportunities, but again, like nothing really came of it. And it's now getting into like, August after I graduated in May, and I'm starting to panic. My parents are also like in my ear, like, hey, do something
Get
else.
something.
Exactly, exactly. But because of the work that I was doing as an intern, it's actually a full circle moment. So remember when I was talking about that conference I went to my sophomore year,
Yeah.
the woman that was speaking about social media, um, I I talked to her like after that conference and just told her like I feel so inspired, like whatever. And she actually reached out to me. So this would be like 2 full years later, and basically said, "Hey, I, am posting a social media specialist position. Would really love it if you apply." And I was like, "Okay." So again, it wasn't in sports, but I was like, it's social media, so like
Right.
one foot in the door. So,
Hmm.
we'll just do that. And after a couple of interviews later, I ended up getting hired by the person that introduced me to social media, like completely. So
And
that
where
was really
and
great.
and where was that opportunity?
Yeah, so that was my first job, the social media specialist at the University of South Carolina. So
Got it. Okay.
that's yeah, that's higher ed social media. Very different than sports social media,
Hmm.
but it gave me the foundation that I needed to get started.
Right. And was that before you took your leap and your journey to LSU?
That would be after. So I went from the University of South Carolina social media
Hmm.
to South Carolina athletics social media, and then to LSU.
So what's the difference between those two?
Yeah,
I might be
so
confusing the two a little bit. Yeah.
no, no worries, no worries. Same employer.
Hmm.
So doing social media for the University of South Carolina is like handling um marketing for higher education.
Got it.
So you're trying to reach prospective students, you're trying to reach alumni, you're trying to reach current students. You're trying to balance all of that. On the athletic side of things, because the SEC, the South, they love their sports. On the athletic side of things, you're marketing your programs,
Mm-hmm.
you're selling tickets, you're encouraging merch. Like, so again, same umbrella of the brand, like it's
Yeah.
all the University of South Carolina, but one is like the higher ed focus, like the institution, and then the other side is like the collegiate sports.
Right, like sports related, yeah. And like you
Uh-huh.
said too, like it matters is like just getting experience, like right? So you got that
Mm-hmm.
opportunity, you got your foot in the door, get the experience, and then you can always try to pivot. I feel like there were
Mm-hmm.
times where, earlier in my career, like I might have had my mind set on something, and like if I wasn't getting it, like I'd be annoyed. But like
Right.
after time, I learned like get something else that's easier to get in the door, get those skills,
Mm-hmm.
and then use that to kind of pivot. And that seems like kind of like what you did.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit of your time at LSU, where you had the role of director of content strategy. Now,
Mm-hmm.
tell me a little bit about what that responsibility was like. What was that transition, right? Different school,
Mm-hmm.
and tell me about the exciting opportunities that you got to work with there.
Yeah. So leaving South Carolina and going to LSU, honestly, part of that decision was, I've been in the same city about 8 years now. Like, I just want to I want to change the scenery. I want a different culture and
Hmm.
like just a little bit of novelty. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So the director of content strategy position, it was a new position at the time. And this was kind of aligned with NIL becoming official, like
Mm.
in a very big way.
Yeah.
And if you don't know anything about LSU, just know that like LSU is very much like NIL big brand capital.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I came in, it was during an interesting time of like transition for them where they're trying to incorporate NIL more into their strategy just across the board. And they were also launching a subscription service. A lot of
Mm.
colleges now have a subscription service. For LSU, it was called LSU Gold. It's now called LSU Plus. So I was kind of helping with the initial launch of that platform and helping with the content strategy of everything on there. So just a glimpse. On LSU Plus, like there is a podcast network. There is long form content that are specific to sports.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them like Emmy winning, like it was really, really incredible work. Um, there are, kind of like short get to know films about like
Mm-hmm.
coaches or players and stuff in different sports. So there was a lot of content to kind of manage. And a part of my job was to work with the sports information directors for each of the teams to basically make the strategy make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So if there was a feature about a football coach, I'm working with the football sports information director to figure out, okay, how can we amplify this? Is there an opportunity to cross post so both of these audiences are able to see the content? So it was a lot of that.
Yeah.
And then it was also daily publishing content, like from the LSU sports account. So again, same thing or similar to South Carolina, that is pushing tickets, that's pushing merch. Any like pertinent updates on a game day, like any time changes to a game or schedule, all of that kind of like immediate stuff that our fans would need to know. And on top of that, I was also kind of implementing my own program where I was mentoring students,
Oh, cool.
and I was able to basically get to know what they were interested in and like pair them with my colleagues that could help them kind of lean into the skills that they really wanted to, sharpen in the internship. I was
That's awesome.
definitely doing a lot of things at LSU, but it was a lot of fun.
It feels like your responsibilities just blew up, but it blew up at a good time. Like you said, like
Hmm.
the NIL, platform, had started. So I'm sure like that was exciting, especially for you creating content, right?
It
And
was.
when you said like, let's say there was something happening with the football team or the football coach, you go and cover that. So are you covering like working with like all sports at LSU kind of across men's and women's sports?
So at LSU, the bigger sports definitely had more of a concentrated team.
Hmm.
It were some of, excuse me, it was some of the smaller sports that I was a little bit more hands-on with. Like, for example, I'd say the team that I was kind of the most closely working with at LSU was our track team. Again, in the college space, like sometimes there are transitions in kind of weird times during the year because on an athletics calendar, it's almost like it never stops. Like
Hmm.
you go from, summer, right? You have like football training camp. You get into your fall sports, you roll straight into basketball and winter sports, and then straight into the spring, and then all over again. Um, so transitions happen all the time at any time.
Hmm.
And our track team, they did not, basically, they needed more resources. And I was creating content for them. I was going to their practices. So really, like whatever was needed, that's what I was doing. Whatever sports kind of just needed a couple extra hands, that's what I was doing. But again, in a position like this, it is so much collaboration. Like
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Wow.
majority of the job, collaboration.
That's incredible. And so after all your time at LSU, after all the amazing memories and skills that you built, you ended up landing a dream role, dream job for many people, senior manager, digital content for the New York Knicks. That's
Yes.
incredible. Such a pivotal role, especially, how crucial digital presence can be for sports teams
Hmm.
today, right? And especially for
Yeah.
a team like New York Knicks, New York
Hmm.
City. So tell me a little bit about how you landed that. That's like I
Hmm.
said, that's a dream to many people to work for the New York Knicks. So how did that
Yeah.
come about? How did you feel about it? How excited were you to go from, LSU is a big university. They have a good
Hmm.
history. They win titles, but to go from that to New York Knicks, how does that happen?
Yeah, it was actually kind of wild. So the season I was at LSU, I was also finishing up my master's at the same time. And so like getting towards the end of my program, I was kind of thinking like, okay, what's next? Do I want to stay in the college space? Because pros and cons, like NIL was honestly just creating a lot of change in the college landscape just in general. And so I really had to like sit with myself and say, is this something I want to continue doing? Or do I want to like pursue the next thing? I wasn't
Mhm.
sure what the next thing was, to be completely honest. But I have a mentor that is super, super incredible. And she's one of those people that are just naturally very, very tapped in with a lot of people. And to have someone like that in your corner, it's so clutch when they're like, yeah, I actually know someone that's, about to post a job.
Connections.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah. So, it felt right. It felt like it made sense. And I was like, okay, like, let's just see. I never thought that I would end up working in New York City. Like a little background information that I did not give. I'm a military brat. So I was born and raised overseas. Like my first time living um in the States was when I went to college.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so New York was just like it was never on my mind. And so it kind of just felt like a fever dream
Yeah,
applying for the job, going through the process and it started feeling real. Like,
it could
I think they
happen.
like me. Right, like I think they like me. And so when I got offered the job, like it was just like, wow, like
Unreal.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? Like I'm going to New York. Like if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
yeah.
So honestly, I was just really, really excited for the challenge because when you're in the college space and you're not working specifically with one sport, you're on that all year calendar, especially at
Hmm.
a place like LSU where teams go far into the postseason. That was the same season that women's basketball won their first championship. And then the baseball team went on to win the College World Series that season
Wow.
too. So if I was still there, I would have,
Been
been
part of
helping
that.
support basketball. I mean,
Yeah.
excuse me, baseball. And I was like, okay, the opportunity to just work on one team, like get to know just the players and like the staff and this one team, like this is going to be a different challenge, but I'm excited for it. So honestly, I approached it like a kid in a candy store. Um, it was so exciting and so new, and there were so many things to learn at the same time.
Hmm.
And I never used to think about these tentpole events that the NBA has. So, they have their marquee like Christmas Day games and they have, All-Star Weekend and they have Martin Luther King Day and all of these things. I never really thought about it
Yeah.
because I just really didn't pay attention.
I don't even
And
know about
so,
some of these events. I'm learning about it
right,
as you're saying it. Yeah.
right, there's a lot. Um And so it was like there was something new to learn every day about like the NBA in general, and then also about the organization of the Knicks. So as somebody that loves novelty, it's like, okay, no day is the same. I'm learning something new. Like sometimes I'm creating content, other time I'm in meetings. Um, either making decisions or like kind of listening to other people's thought process as they make decisions.
Mhm.
So it was like the first season definitely just was a time for me to just kind of be a sponge and just kind of soak it all
Absorb.
in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it honestly like I was so excited and kind of I don't want to say in disbelief, but like still kind of in disbelief. Like
So,
pinch me. Like this is Madison Square Garden.
yeah, when am I gonna wake up? Before you joined the New York Knicks, did you watch the NBA? Did you have a favorite team? And then if no, or if yes, did you then become a New York Knicks fan once you joined the New York Knicks?
Yeah, so I love basketball. Okay, I love basketball, but I love women's basketball specifically because
Hmm.
I was a lot closer to it. So that love kind of grew when I was in college and like I got to work with him as an intern and then again as a staff member. But if I throw it back to when the Warriors were like winning consecutive championships, I would never tune in until the finals.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I never realized how long a season was. Like 82 games is wild, right?
yeah,
So by the time you get to the NBA finals, that's 4 rounds after the season, like the regular season ends. I never put two and two together until like I was actually living in it.
yeah.
So all of that to say, I told myself I was a Warriors fan. I was just like so intrigued with Steph and Draymond and KD. I was just like, wow, this is so cool.
They had something going.
Um,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
did, but like honestly, I never really took it super seriously.
yeah.
Then, I get to New York and I'm like, oh wow, like okay, like there's history within this franchise, but also the franchise is just so popular in pop culture
Yeah,
and in TV culture, especially shows based in excuse me, shows and movies that are based in New York.
absolutely.
So there's always been like glimpses of the Knicks throughout my life, but I never thought that I would like become a fan
Yeah.
or any of that. And honestly, I try to be careful with calling myself a fan. Um, but I think more than anything, like I'm genuinely a fan of the players on our team. Like that is
Got it.
so it's so cliche to say. Um, but content, the basketball game is the basketball game. But when you get to kind of learn a bit more about the players and you get to see how silly they are. Like they're literally just like grown guys,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like they just make a lot of money, but they're
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 like
normal people.
regular
Like,
people like us.
right,
Yeah.
right. They're really funny. So yeah, that
Yeah.
yeah.
That makes sense. And honestly, like for me even now, like when the playoffs just started, I probably wasn't watching the first few games of each series. Like I'm tuning in when it's getting closer to the end of the series. And now in the finals, I might be
Right.
watching every game. But I mean that's a whole different story where a lot of people also agree that like it is too long. Like season's too long, the playoff series are too long. Like they should just shorten it a little. But no, it totally makes sense that like you're not necessarily you don't want to call yourself a fan of the sport, but fan of the team. And which kind of leads me
Mhm.
to my next question, which is like how often do you interact with the players, the coaching staff, and especially like I guess you joined them 2 years ago, I believe, about 2 years ago. So I guess like
Yes.
starting there, how was that dynamic your first year? How has it grown now? Do you interact with them more? What's that like?
Yeah. So I will say at the pro level, and this, this is really, really important. Kind of the higher up you get, the less access you have to players.
Oh, wow.
So me as the senior manager, I I see the guys face to face a couple of times a season.
Oh.
Like not including the games,
Hmm.
but like our content day at the beginning of the season. That's like when I really, really get to talk to them. So I don't have a lot of like face to face interactions with the guys, but my our coordinator does. And so our coordinator is constantly capturing content of them. So that's how I get to see more of their personality. Like I don't get to experience it, but I get to see it. Um, and so, like, in a perfect world, it would be so cool to be able to spend a little bit more time with the players. Um, but everything is very specialized here.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, these are professional athletes that have families and they have foundations and organizations and all of these things. So we have to be very intentional with their time. And so anytime like we are, sending somebody to cover like a player event or something that's not a game, we usually send the same two people because they've already established like a rapport with
Hmm.
them and they know what they're there for.
Yeah.
If we were to just rotate and send, someone different each time, they'd
The
be like,
players be like, "Who is
okay,
this? Who's that?"
right, like who is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's definitely something that people may not think about. But
Hmm.
yeah, kind of the higher up you get, the less access you have, but the more decisions you're
Yeah,
making.
absolutely. I mean, we all see, the energy that the New York Knicks has, especially around game time, the playoffs that they just had. So I can only imagine the energy that's involved within your role as well, right? So when you think about
Hmm.
like managing digital content for a team like Knicks, it's not just about, posting updates or making posts. You're essentially building that level of connection with like millions of people, right? Globally, but also
Hmm.
in New York City. So what's your philosophy behind, creating content that when you're thinking about like how can I resonate with the New York fan base? Is that
Hmm.
complicated? Like what goes behind your strategy and your thinking there?
Yeah. So, first of all, that is a great question. And I wish there was just like one straightforward answer.
Hmm.
Um, but how we communicate with our fans is it's very much tied into like our internal strategy. So, we would do talk like a New Yorker. And being that there's some kind of language limitations,
Yeah.
it was always really funny when people would comment on it and be like, "Why are they not saying dead ass?" And I'm like, "Believe me, I wish I could, but
Yeah.
to make sure we're still like compliant with the organization and
Hmm.
just being like a very cohesive like unit, there are certain things like in New York culture that we can't fully lean into. And I think that's a thing that people, I guess, sometimes don't consider with social media.
Yeah.
Um, like believe me, I know that dead ass is like in every New Yorker's vocabulary. And I really wish we could lean into it, but like,
But you can't.
we can't.
Yeah.
So all we can do is what we're able to do kind of within the confines of our brand. And just try our best to make it resonate and make it land.
Yeah.
But
When
yeah.
when you see there's been a lot of times where you see like the fans like create some sort of, let's say, turns into a meme. I don't know, like they say something, right? And then
Hmm.
just goes on for the whole year. It's like a meme, right? Do you guys pay attention to those things of like, hey, what's going viral within the fans, and then maybe try to bring that in a little bit? Do you guys pay attention to like, yeah, what the fans are saying or kind of making go viral? Like the
Yes.
one thing that comes to mind is like Bing Bong, when they used to say Bing Bong like last year, 2 years ago, and that was like
Uh-huh.
I was hearing it for like a year straight. Like it went towards
Hmm.
outside of basketball. I was just seeing it everywhere, and I was like, wow, that was like I think around the playoffs time that they just came up with that defense. So
Hmm. Hmm. Yes, we do. We do try to lean in as best as we can. For example, this past season, um, I hope I'm not getting her username wrong, but her name is Darmy, I believe. And she had the little Jalen doll from the garden where she would like put cucumber slices on his eyes and like ice his knees, kind of like a reverse like voodoo, but in a good way. I feel like voodoo is not the best way to describe it. Um, but yeah, and so that was something that was just so funny and organic. And because the playoffs are so, uh, what is the word? Nothing is like determined in the playoffs.
Mhm.
Like you just kind of have to
Unpredictable.
just keep going.
Yeah,
That's the word,
yeah.
unpredictable.
There you
Um, we like by the time these TikToks and videos started getting traction, it was like, oh my gosh, like this is so funny, like this is such an organic, like very cute thing that we should lean into.
go.
We have steps and like certain ways we go about approaching people that are not within our organization. um, but by the time we were able to get everything, kind of together, like the season was over.
Yeah.
And I was telling my coworkers, I was like, we have to get her to a game. If she could meet Jalen, that would be so cool, but we have to get her to a game. Unfortunately, we weren't able to just
Damn.
because of the unpredictability,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we lean in as best as we can. Just ensuring that everything is brand appropriate. Some things are just really funny and
Yeah.
organic, and
But
we're
it
like,
can't be.
okay, yeah.
No, I get it absolutely. And no, I mean like some of these memes too, like yeah, they are like borderline like inappropriate. So it's like I can see how it'd be tough for you guys to like lean into it. But I was just wondering
Hmm.
like how much you guys pay attention to like, what the fan base is saying. Before I have some fun questions for you, but before I go into it, I want to ask you like, what's like the most challenging part of your job, right? Maybe it changed from your first year when you started to now, but on a day to day, what's the most challenging part of your job?
Um, I will say day to day. I think Madison Square Garden is such a large organization, so there are a lot of there's a lot of cross collaboration there. Um, I'd say the hardest thing for me has been honestly having to like sacrifice so much time, so many holidays, like so many weekends. Don't get me wrong, I love my job.
Do you guys
But
travel
there are
with the team too?
definitely
Sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're totally fine. No, we did not travel this
okay.
season. Hmm. So yeah, just I think having to um having to sacrifice a lot of time, I would say
Hmm.
has been the most difficult. But when I started working like at the University of South Carolina,
Yeah.
that, I wasn't in sports yet. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have so much time on my hands. Like what am I gonna do? Now again, this did happen. Like I was in that job before and after COVID. So that definitely kind of changed my perspective later. But once I got like fully into sports in a full-time capacity, I was like, wow, like I really just want to spend Christmas with my parents,
Yeah.
but I'll be at the garden. So
Eh,
it's a cool experience, but you definitely sacrifice a little bit.
At least if you're gonna miss Christmas, at least you're at Madison Square Garden on
You
Christmas.
know,
Like, I mean, that's not a bad
that's the
place to
least.
be.
Right,
I'm sure your
right,
family's pretty jealous, like they're missing you, but they're like, wow, she's at MSG on Christmas Day. I
right,
mean, that's pretty cool,
right.
right? All
Mm-hmm,
right, so
mm-hmm.
now onto some like fun questions. I've learned a little bit about you, so maybe the answer won't be as easy. Maybe you'll have to get a little bit of thought because now I
Okay.
understand that you've kind of gone into NBA in the past few years, and you've
Mm-hmm.
been more into women's basketball. But the age-old question or age-old debate that people always wonder, like who's the GOAT, LeBron James or Michael Jordan? Which would you say? And if you have a why for it, but you don't have to have a why. You could just say which you think is the GOAT.
Yeah, man. Ugh. I mean, I know there's no wrong answer because this is, my perspective. I would say if I could throw a little caveat there,
Yeah.
I'd say in terms of culture, Michael Jordan. But in terms of longevity and accolades and all of that, like LeBron is still playing. So I just, I feel like I kind of have to give the nod to LeBron at this point.
Okay.
But like what MJ did for basketball, nobody can do that.
Yeah.
So they're both goats in their own right.
Great answer. Well said. All right. So now next question. Imagine you're being put in the GMC, right, for the New York Knicks for a moment, right? And you're in charge of buying one NBA player for the next upcoming season, and they're gonna make a significant impact, right? As we saw this year, they were very close. They did great, right? They killed
Hmm.
it. They were almost there. So you're the GM now. You could buy one player for the Knicks, any player to come in and take us to that next level, take us to finals, who would it be?
Oh man,
It could be someone you like, honestly, that you like as a player. And you're like, oh, I just would want to see him play for the Knicks.
dang. Honestly, personally, I don't really have an opinion. But also, this is just kind of like off the record. I feel like if I were to answer this question right now and like anyone from my PR team were to see me just like spouting off names, that would be a problem.
Yeah, okay. No worries, no worries.
So,
We'll hold
yes,
that
I
off.
am I am so sorry. I'm
No,
so
no, no.
sorry.
No, absolutely not. Don't be sorry. No worries at all. And so these questions that are coming up, feel free to say that you're not able to answer it right now. So the
Yeah.
next one is, being part of your job, right? But also just, interacting with the players. Who's your current favorite player on the team? And what is it about them that stands out to you, right? Both as a content creator, like maybe they just make your job easier, right? They just
Hmm.
easy to give you content, but also as a fan. I know you probably like all the players on the team, right? But one player that
Yeah.
stands out.
Honestly, I would hands down say OG Ananobi. As a content creator, he makes it so easy. Like he's just so like straight face, deadpan. It's very shocking to like see him laugh or smile, but like when you see it, it's like wow, it's a good day. We
Hmm.
got a nice OG smile. He's also just funny. I don't even know if he realizes how funny he is. Just his mannerisms. He doesn't really do like the walk-in fits. Like he just walks in the building, no pictures, like nearly every time. It's so funny. And there was definitely a moment in the postseason where a press conference started and he sat down and he just like looked around for like 20 seconds and then he just got up.
And
Just
left.
got up and left. Yes. So
He's like, this is
OG,
not for me.
that's a funny guy.
I think that's
Making content of him is just
easy.
hilarious. He's golden.
I think that's the best kind of funny too, when people are not really trying to be funny and they don't even
Right.
and
They're
they don't
just
even know they're
naturally
funny
funny.
and they are funny,
Hmm.
right? That's the best kind. It's just genuine and candid.
Hmm. Yeah.
Next question, and this is more about, I guess, career-wise trajectory, right? So you studying
Yeah.
like, college sports, you've dealt with track and field, football, basketball, and now you're at the New York Knicks. Do you ever see yourself branching out to a different sport? Maybe football or maybe even soccer, as we know, like soccer's global, but it's like growing in the US as well. Do you ever see
hmm
yourself branching out to another big sport?
I think it's possible. I think it's possible. Um,
Are you interested in that,
I
I guess?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out like what I want to do next because basketball is my favorite sport.
Hmm.
So it's a lot easier to do this work because I enjoy the sport, I understand it. Not saying that I don't like football or I don't like soccer. I do. I just wonder if perhaps a different industry is calling my name.
Mm,
Um, I don't know what that looks like yet, but I've had so many incredible opportunities working in sports. It's been so fun. I've learned so much, but I'm very much I gotta feel it in my gut, you know? So as far as what's next, I'm not sure. It could be a different sport. It could be like a different industry altogether. But I haven't had that like inkling in my gut yet because
hmm.
I'm liking where I'm at. I'm comfortable. Um, so maybe in like a year or two, I'll be able to answer that question for you.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have you back on in a year or two, and then we'll see where you're at then. But you gotta stick with that gut feeling, because as you said earlier in your career, when you were in college, when you wanted to switch majors, right? That was a gut
hmm
feeling that you had, where I mean, you stood up to your parents saying no, right? Like I would have been scared of
hmm
my parents saying no to them, so you went with your gut, and that was the right decision you made. So you just gotta, I
hmm
guess, do the next right thing one step at a time, and then that gut feeling will
Yeah.
come, and then you'll take that. This has
hmm
been awesome. Your career journey is like true testament to passion, hard work, and adapting, to different workspaces, as well as creating those connections and networking. As I feel like a lot of opportunities that you have gained, whether it was in college or post college, was from connections and networking, right? So I guess for
Yes.
our listeners who might be, aspiring to roles like yours, whether they're in sports marketing or content strategy in general, what's one piece of advice that you would have for them, or a piece of advice that you wish you knew earlier in your career?
Yeah. Um, I would say so I have three pieces of advice. One of them is trust your gut. We've hit on that multiple times already. That's super, super important. The second one is your network is so important. You never know what opportunities are out there, but if you know people that are well connected, like they can kind of point you in the right direction. And then I will say my third one, and the one that I wish I implemented a little bit more, was taking advantage of LinkedIn. Like, I'm not even joking. There are so many things throughout my career that I've done. And now that I'm looking back, I'm like, wow, I wish I just put that on LinkedIn so like it could just be in one place. Like, I mean, yeah, sure, you have your resume, but you can also like connect with other people on LinkedIn and they can, comment on your post and you can, make connections with people that way. So I wish I took that seriously. I wish that I wasn't as afraid to talk about the things that I did
Mhm.
and talk about, projects that I've uh, brought into fruition or things that I've executed. Like I really wish I just leaned more into LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's valuable
So
advice. Especially like now, a lot of people, a lot of younger students or younger professionals like wonder how they can be networking, or they might be afraid to go networking. Like you could do it from LinkedIn, right? I mean, it's
hmm
much better to like network in person too, but like LinkedIn,
right.
great resource, and you can do so much with it. So that
Yep.
those three, all three of them, very valuable advice and very effective too. Like, yeah, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on Career T, sharing your journey, your career path, as well as your advice for our listeners. Thank you so much for coming on Career T, and I hope to have you on again in a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years, and see where your career has taken you, and we can chat again then.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.